Okay, so today we're diving into Sun Tzu's The Art of War.
Ooh, exciting.
Ah, right. I mean, I know it sounds a little intense,
Yeah.
ancient warfare and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
But the thing is, when you really look at this book, it's not just about battles, right?
No, no, not at all.
It's really a guide to strategy and competition in any area of life.
Exactly. Exactly.
So we're talking business, we're talking relationships, even just like personal goals, anything where you're trying to get ahead, overcome challenges.
Right.
So in this deep dive, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of pull out some of the most powerful and practical ideas from the art of war.
All right.
And we're going to talk about how you can actually use them in your own life.
Love it. Love it.
Whether you're an entrepreneur, a manager, an athlete, or just somebody who, wants to be more strategic in their thinking.
Yeah, it's amazing how relevant this 2,500-year-old text still is,
It
right?
really is.
Like, think about it. CEOs, military leaders, they still study this stuff.
It's
So
incredible.
there's got to be something to it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you ready to jump in?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So one of the most famous principles from the art of war, and it's kind of the foundation of everything else, is know your enemy and know yourself.
Okay, so break that down for us a little bit.
Well, on the surface, it seems pretty straightforward, right? Like you
Right.
need to understand who you're up against,
Right.
their strengths, their weaknesses, their motivations.
Hmm.
But the real power of this principle comes in when you apply that same scrutiny to yourself.
Oh, okay, so it's not just outward.
Exactly. It's inward as well.
Interesting.
A lot of times we get so focused on what other people are doing
Yeah.
that we forget to really take stock of our own, strengths and our weaknesses.
Hmm.
And until you have a clear understanding of both sides, your side and their side,
Right.
you can't really develop a truly effective strategy.
I see. I see.
So, like, let's say you're thinking about starting a new business.
Yeah, okay.
Sure, you need to research your competitors, right?
Yeah.
But you also need to be brutally honest with yourself
Right.
about what your team is good at,
Right.
where you might be lacking, what resources you have access to, all of that.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's about having that complete picture.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, so moving on to another principle,
Mhm.
and this one's a little bit more, well, it can be a little bit more controversial.
Okay.
It's all warfare is based on deception.
Ooh, interesting.
Now, before you get any ideas,
Yeah.
this is not about lying or cheating.
Right. Right.
It's about being strategic and unpredictable.
Okay.
It's about using your knowledge of your enemy and yourself to create situations where you have the advantage.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, let's say you're in a negotiation.
Okay.
Maybe you intentionally leak some information that you know will throw the other side off balance.
Okay.
Or maybe you make a move that seems counterintuitive,
Mm.
but it's actually part of a larger plan.
I see.
The point is to be one step ahead.
So it's not about brute force. It's about strategy.
Exactly.
It's about outsmarting your opponent.
Precisely. And this principle can be applied to so many different areas of life,
Yeah, like business, for example, right?
Absolutely.
If you're always predictable, your competitors are going to be able to anticipate your every move.
Exactly.
But if you can keep them guessing,
You keep them on their toes.
right, you have the upper hand.
Exactly. It's about being adaptable, being flexible,
Yeah.
and being a little bit sneaky.
Yeah, in a strategic way. In a strategic way.
Right, in a strategic way. Exactly.
This is great. I'm really enjoying this.
Okay, so how about this one? The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting.
Whoa. Okay, that's a powerful one.
Right. It's almost like a Zen thing, right? Like
Yeah.
the ultimate victory is the one where you don't even have to engage in battle.
So how does that translate into, our everyday lives?
Well, think about it this way. What if you could build a business that was so strong,
Okay.
so innovative, so customer focused
Mm-hmm.
that your competitors just couldn't compete?
Okay. Yeah.
They would be effectively subdued without you ever having to, go head to head with them.
Right.
Or let's say you're dealing with a conflict in a relationship.
Okay.
Maybe instead of arguing and fighting, you could find a way to address the underlying issues
Mhm.
in a way that satisfies both parties without anyone feeling like they lost.
So it's about finding a win-win situation.
Exactly. Exactly. It's about being proactive, being strategic, and finding those elegant solutions.
Well, I like that. Elegant solution.
Yeah, where everybody comes out ahead.
Okay, so we've got a couple more principles to cover.
Yeah, let's do it.
And I'm curious to see how they connect with these first few.
Okay, so next up we have speed and adaptability matter.
Okay, that one feels very relevant to the world we live in today,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about it. Everything's moving so fast.
Yeah, yeah.
Technology, markets, everything's constantly changing.
Right, so if you're not able to keep up, you're going to get left behind.
Exactly. So what Sun Tzu is saying here is that it's not enough to just have a good plan.
Right.
You need to be able to adjust that plan on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be able to react quickly to new information and to changing circumstances.
I see. So it's almost like you have to be able to anticipate the unexpected.
Yeah, well, you can't always anticipate the unexpected, but you can be prepared to deal with it.
Right, right.
And that means being flexible, being willing to change course, and not being afraid to experiment.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point, not being afraid to experiment.
Absolutely,
Right.
because you never know what's going to work until you try it.
And sometimes the biggest breakthroughs come from those unexpected discoveries.
Precisely. So always be open to new possibilities.
That's great advice.
All right, so last but not least, we have avoid what is strong, attack what is weak.
Ooh, that sounds very strategic.
It is, and it's kind of a core principle of warfare,
Yeah.
but it's also very applicable to business, to relationships, to really any kind of competition.
So what does it mean, like, practically speaking?
Well, it means that you should always be looking for the areas where you have an advantage,
Okay.
and you should focus your efforts on exploiting those advantages.
So don't try to compete head on with someone who's clearly stronger than you.
Right, exactly, because you're probably going to lose.
Right.
Instead, look for their weaknesses. Look for the areas where they're vulnerable
Okay.
and attack those.
And this applies to, any kind of competition, not just warfare.
Absolutely. So, like, let's say you're starting a new business.
Okay.
It might not be a good idea to go head-to-head with a giant corporation
Right.
who has way more resources than you.
Yeah.
Instead, maybe you find a niche market that they're overlooking,
Right.
or maybe you develop a product or service that caters to a specific need that they're not addressing.
So it's about finding your unique angle.
Exactly. It's about finding your sweet spot, the place where you can really shine.
I see.
And then once you've found that sweet spot, you go all in.
You attack.
You attack, exactly.
This has been so insightful.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
I really am. I've always been fascinated by the art of war,
Yeah.
but I never really thought about how I could actually apply these principles to my own life.
Right. But that's the thing about this book. It's timeless.
Yeah.
It's as relevant today as it was 2,500 years ago.
Absolutely. So I guess the takeaway here is that no matter what kind of competition you're facing, whether it's in business and relationships or just in your own personal life,
Right.
there's always something to be learned from Sun Tzu.
Always, always.
And by understanding and applying these principles, you can give yourself a real advantage.
Absolutely. So what are you going to apply first?
That's a great question for our listeners to think about. What challenges are you currently facing?
Right.
And how could you use one of these principles from the art of war to approach that challenge in a new and more strategic way?
There you go. Homework assignment.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.